Hi, my name is Anna, and this is my knitting podcast number 1. So let's go ahead and get started with the finished objects. It's relatively exciting because it's a yarn that I've had for a long time that was originally another project that I unraveled and now it became this. So this is my first finished object, which is the Very V-neck raglan by Jessie Made Designs. Ta-da! This is, I'm sure some people can recognize this yarn just by seeing it. This is Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo in colorway Omitama. It's a beautiful, variegated, funky, cool looking yarn that is, of course, highly coveted and was relatively difficult to find. However, I did end up locating the yarn and ordered, I think, 5 skeins of it. So out of those 5 skeins, I was able to make this whole thing, which is quite oversized, and I have a lot of yarn left over. So that yarn has quite a bit, like one skein is kind of expensive, but it has so much yardage that it's like, okay, you can make a lot with just one skein. I have my notes here. So I started this sweater on May 26th of 2024, and I finished it on August 23rd. So it took me about 3 months to make. Most difficult part was doing the raglan flat, so you're knitting across, in my case, since I did a size extra large, I'll go over like 300 stitches flat back and forth, which if you're like me, you hate purling. Purl rows are a struggle, so doing the raglan that way, it was a perilous journey, I should say. So like I said, I knit a size 1X in this and paired this yarn with Knitting for Olive mohair in color, I think, wheat. And I knew when I got this yarn that I was going to pair it with the mohair because it leans a little bit gray, I think, and that's not really my color. So I paired it with the color wheat, which made it a little bit warmer and I think more wearable for my complexion. So it worked out well color-wise. I took a sweater that I have, or like it's more of a sweatshirt that I have from Aerie. That's a size XL, I think, and I know I really like the silhouette of that sweater on me, so I essentially took the measurements compared to the finished object measurements in the pattern, and then kind of decided which size to go with. Also, considering my gauge is a little bit bigger than the pattern called for, I knit mine at 5mm needles, where the pattern calls for I think 4 or 4.5. So my gauge is slightly larger. So that ended up boiling down to me choosing size 1X. I also saw one picture on Ravelry that I thought kind of looked the way that I wanted size-wise. So I think she had knit a 1X, so I also chose 1X. And basically it turned out exactly, size-wise, exactly what I wanted. I originally taken this yarn to knit a zipper jacket by Petite Knit, and I had gotten through the whole yoke and started on the body and got a decent way in the body, and I had it just in hibernation since last summer, and I picked it up this spring and I was like, you know what, I don't want a zipper jacket in this color. So I had seen another picture of this yarn being used for this pattern, so I thought it would be a good idea. I think it looks really good. So I ended up doing it too, and I think it turned out exactly kind of the way that I had it pictured in my head, which doesn't often happen. So I think, you know, sometimes when you sit on something for so long, you end up letting it marinate in your brain a long time, and then it just ends up being, you know, better than if you were just to kind of like rush through it. I'm happy that I ended up revisiting this. I'm not that excited about wearing this yarn right now for the fall. I think this is more of like a more springy color for me. Right now I'm more interested in more fall colors as we're approaching autumn. So we'll see, maybe in like the dead of winter when I'm feeling my soul is crushed by the cold and the dreary tundra, I will maybe pull this out. But at the same time, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll find some cute way to wear it in the fall. Technically wise, I ended up doing a tubular bind off on the neckline because it's already quite large. I didn't want to stretch out too much, and I think that tubular bind off works well if you don't want something to stretch out, because you have the 2 rounds of double knitting. So that, I believe, helped it not stretch out too much for the neck, so that I would need to put like an elastic in it. So I don't have any elastic in there, and I think it fits. It kind of lays perfectly, I would say. It's kind of like a little off the shoulder moment. It's kind of cute. And then for the sleeves and the body, I only did just a regular Italian bind off, so not the 2 rounds of double knitting before I did the sewn bind off. I find that one doesn't necessarily look better than the other, so I would only really use tubular bind off if I needed the part not to stretch that much. So I will try to show you a close-up of what it looked like, the difference between the sleeve and the body. This is the tubular bind off on the bottom, and then I have the sewn bind off, tubular and then Italian, and I don't think that they look that different. I'm not so inclined to use tubular bind off for every bind off that I do, whereas I am always going to do at least an Italian bind off. I just think that looks better, and I think I'm relatively detail oriented, so I'm always going to spend more time if it's going to yield a better result. I'm happy with this. I do have quite a bit of yarn left, which was surprising. Actually, not so surprising, so I bought so many skeins. I assumed that it should be enough, and I tend to overbuy yarn, but I have all of this left. So I was thinking that maybe if needed, I will be able to lengthen the sleeves or the body if it's kind of a little shorter than I anticipated. It's kind of normal sweater length, but sometimes normal sweater length is kind of like cropped for me. So I might want to extend the body and the sleeves. I like my sleeves to be super long. So, because I like to be able to, So I might need to extend it a little bit. I'll insert some photos and videos of how it fits, how I kind of would style it. I think that I can try to block it. So the first time I kind of washed and blocked it, I had soaked it and then I threw it in the washing machine on just a drain, so like a spin and drain, so that it kind of got a lot of water out. And I find when I do that method, it doesn't allow me to stretch it if I need to. So I think I can try re-blocking it. Instead of putting it in the washing machine and spinning it, I will just do the towel method and try, so that way there's a little bit more water, and I think I can try to finesse it to be maybe a little bit longer sleeve wise, and that way then I can determine if I want to use this yarn to lengthen it at all. If not, I think this would be great to use for like a hat, a beanie, and if there's enough, maybe some matching mittens. Not mittens, maybe like cut off, like fingerless gloves. I think that would be like a cute little funky set. So we'll see. I will hold on to it. Sometimes I like to just sell the leftover yarn that I have because I'm like, I don't want to use this. But in this case, I'm going to hold on to it for a little while and just determine whether or not I want to add length, or if I want to, I will probably use it to make a beanie at some point in my existence, I hope. The pattern is well written, it's clear. Size options, I think Jessie made this well known for being very size inclusive, so it's nice in my case to have options because I tend to like to go very oversized, so I like to have those laid out for me instead of needing to like hack it in my own brain. I feel like I'm not as math inclined, so I always appreciate that, and I know a lot of other people appreciate having multiple size options. So I did have a new technique here as well. This was I forget what the type of raglan was. The increases were a little different than just make one left and make one right, but the raglan detail is very subtle and pretty. I think it looked pretty good. Oh, also one thing that I did, I had knit the entire neckline, and then I picked up the stitches just a little weird right here. Or was it? Yeah. Right here the stitches or right there. Somewhere on here I picked up the stitches, and there was one spot that I didn't pick up very well. It kind of jutted out, and I try to pay close attention to how I pick up the stitches on the neck, especially in the front and on the sleeve, so that it looks even throughout. And that one spot, it just bothered me enough that I unraveled the neckline and reknit it. And now it looks pretty good. I like the neckline. I feel like it's a very kind of feminine silhouette with the little dip. If you can see. Can you? The little dip at the front, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a little frames well, I suppose. I don't think I would prefer that style in the future. I kind of just like it to be regular V, but in this case it's pretty. I'm not going to, hate on it. So this is like a big comfy sweatshirt. Super soft, but I am quite tired of mohair at the moment. I want to pursue some non-mohair garments this fall. So, but this one I'm just really happy to have used up some of the yarn that I had in my stash for so long. I know most of us admire this yarn a lot, and Noro in general. I would recommend this pattern. I think it's modifiable and it can be relatively quick. I suppose if you can get through the yoke, you can get through the pattern. So, happy with this. My next finished object is a previously finished knit that I have revisited to make some alterations to. And that is my zipper jacket by Petite Knit. When I first kind of had the intention of becoming a better knitter and more advanced, this was like my dream knit, and I ended up, I think it was maybe the third or fourth sweater that I made. I finished this back in 2022, so this has been complete for a long time. I like to keep track of when I start and finish projects, just because I like to sometimes see how long some take. Like some have taken me over a year and some are really quick. So this one, I think it took me about 3 to 4 months. It's been sitting for 2 years, and I've had the time, I wore it a lot, and then there was a few things that I wasn't so happy with. This is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in color Stone Gray and paired with Knitting for Olive Mohair in color Lead. It's just like one of the pairings that they have on their website. When I first saw Petite Knit's version, I really liked that and kind of wanted to emulate that. I really like the fit of it and the color. I think gray looks really good on her, and gray looks really good on blondes in general. So I went with the gray. I've since determined that I don't think it's the best color for me, but I still really like gray. So I was thinking about selling this sweater just because I wasn't getting any wear out of it, primarily because the zipper was installed in a not so skillful way. I don't know, I followed the directions very exactly, but something always happens where it's slightly different, So the body was a little bit shorter than the zipper, and the way that I initially installed it is I would stretch the body at the end to install the zipper, which resulted in like a slight wave in the zipper. And it was fine at first because, you're happy you have a finished object, but over time I was kind of dissatisfied with that look, and now insert some photos of how it looked before. So I knew for a while that I wanted to go in and redo the zipper. Here's the thing with hand sewing. I feel like before you start, you dread it. At least in my case, I dread hand sewing each time. But when I get started, I don't find it to be that bad. But I was also kind of nervous to redo this because I was like, what if it doesn't fix it, etc., etc. So what I did was I ripped out the entire zipper, and this is very cleverly constructed where there's a zipper lining that you knit, and then obviously just like the outside of the garment. So you sew the lining down and then you would stitch the zipper in. So basically I had to rip out the whole thing. I ended up having to add some length to the body and length to the lining to be able to install the zipper without any wave, and I think I did that pretty successfully. It was worth the time. Now I've been wearing it and I'm very happy with it. I no longer want to sell it, even though gray isn't my color. I still love it. Luckily I had some skeins left over, and I tend to overbuy yarn because I don't want to run out, and in this case it ended up working well when I did need to go back and revisit some areas. So you can see where I added about 2 inches to the body. So it's kind of right here where you see the more worn yarn, more felted to like the new fresh yarn. And I haven't wet blocked this, I just steam blocked it. I will probably wet block it when it gets colder out, when I actually start wearing it and it needs a good wash. But essentially I had to add some length to the body to be able to fit the zipper in. And I did, and then I sold the rest of the yarn to a girl on Facebook Marketplace who she just looked so excited to try the yarn, so I was happy to sell it to her. And I thought maybe I could knit a beanie, but honestly I just, sometimes it feels good to just let go of things, so I was happy to actually like be able to get some cash back on that. I was thinking either I could go back, undo the whole ribbing, and then lengthen the stockinette section so that the ribbing would be the same length as the sleeves. The body tends to stretch out more, especially if you like sit on it like a large garment like this, so that the body was actually kind of shorter than the sleeve, so it ended up working out well. For me, I didn't have to unravel the whole ribbing. I just added 2 inches to the ribbing and it ended up being kind of same length, and I think it looks good. I'll show some before and after pictures. It's so frustrating when you have a vision in your head of how a garment is and it doesn't exactly turn out that way, and you spend so much time and money and effort completing these garments. So I just think it's really worthwhile to go back and revisit those that you're not completely satisfied with if you can fix them. Now this is definitely something that I'm looking forward to continue to wear, and I think it's already 2 years old, so it's already got some signs of wear. Some things look better with age and wear, so I think sweaters are one of those things. This pattern is really nice and very clever. I wish I had knit a larger size because I love how it fits on petite knit, and hers is very oversized, whereas mine is just like oversized. It's not as big as I would want it to be. But alas, I'm not planning on reknitting this pattern ever, but I am going to enjoy it. I got the zipper directly from her website, by the way. I think that she just has really good quality zippers, so I think it's worth it's worth getting the money there rather than go to like Joann's or something and get a zipper that's not that good quality. And of course she's got like the matching color. So lastly, I just want to show you, because I think this is the cutest part, is the little label that I've added. I got these on Etsy. Somebody printed them for me. I don't remember. I got them a while ago. I add them to basically all of my knits. I haven't added it to my raglan sweater yet, but it's just like the cherry on top. It could just, it does what it needs to do. It just looks professional. Good finishing details on a hand knit garment. It's like the cream of the crop. Like it's the... if you know, like it's just so good. I just want to mention that one thing that I love the most about this pattern, or just honestly just the silhouette in general of this, is the afterthought pockets. So you knit the whole thing and then you go back in and cut, and then you knit this weird, like, honestly it weirds me out when it's inside out. Like it just looks really odd, but when it's normal, when it's inside the sweater, I think it just looks really seamless and cool. I just love this style of pocket. I just think it looks so nice. So I loved doing that feature. I was super intimidated at first, but it ended up being good. It was like, I just had to laugh when I was cutting it. I was like, this could be, this could ruin this whole thing. Just like giggling doing it. It was fun. I have the intention of adding afterthought pockets to another garment that I want to like revisit. So I think I should have enough yarn to do that. But garments that you've made that need, like a little alteration here or there, just do it. It's so worth it. Instead of collecting dust, let it be used. So I know this isn't like a actual new finished garment, but I wanted to talk about it partially because otherwise I would only have one finished object to talk about, but also just because I don't know, I love seeing people revisit old knits or, frog something entirely and make something new. That is my reloved zipper jacket. I remember when I kind of first started getting better at knitting, and this was kind of one of those that seemed like a real challenge at the time, and it was a challenge at the time, and it felt good to be able to make something that was a dream at the time. And now I have other dream knits that I want to make. Hopefully I can improve my skills and make those, but this was one, so I'm happy that it's more wearable, and I hope to be wearing it this fall. So that concludes my finished objects. I'm gonna move into the whips. But first, I'm gonna have a sip of my iced Americano. Tell me this isn't the best sound. First whip that I have, ta-da! This is Sweater number 14, V-neck by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I love her patterns. I just think they're so elegant. So I've had this yarn. Oh no, I think I just spilled some coffee on my pants. What the heck? Maybe it's just condensation. So I'm sure this is another yarn. I'm sure someone will be able to guess what this yarn is. Knitting for Olive, merino and mohair in colored Dusty Artichoke. I love this color. Obviously, I'm not the only one. It's a very popular yarn and colorway in the knitting realm online. I purchased this yarn actually around the same time that I knit my zipper jacket. So this was back in 2022 that I bought this yarn with the intention of making the olive cardigan by Knitting for Olive, which is a beautiful design. I don't know if I would knit it now. That's why I'm using the yarn for something else. So I had this yarn since then. I had started the olive cardigan. I think I knit the neckline and then undid it for whatever reason. And it's been sitting in my box in the back of the closet ever since. So I occasionally pull that box out just to see what I have. And I think I had the intention of making that cardigan for a while, and then I recently decided that I didn't want that anymore. I actually wanted to make the sweater 14 v-neck for a while since I saw this picture on Instagram in this dark green version. I just like how it's styled so much, and I love I don't know, it just looks so nice. So I kind of was inspired by that picture, and I wanted to make the same sweater in a dark green, which I have a dark green yarn, but I wanted to use this yarn first. Both of these sweaters call for 1 strand of merino and 2 strands of mohair, which I had it. So I ended up just winding it up, and it's so fluffy. Too fluffy in my opinion. I'm not interested in knitting with 2 strands of mohair ever again after this, which I said that when I knit the other sweater number, I think it's 21, with 2 strands of mohair. I was like, this is too much mohair. It's too fluffy. It's annoying. It's sticky. It, like, if you have lip gloss on, it'll stick to your mouth. Like, I don't want, it gets everywhere. So I was like, I don't want to knit with 2 strands of mohair again. Here I am with 2 strands of mohair again. I intend on this being the last time, but you never know. It's funny because I'm like so tired of mohair, but I'm knitting with so much mohair. I think I have any more mohair projects planned for like at least the autumn and winter. Anywho, when I opened up the pattern, okay, hold on, let me backtrack. I originally wanted to make the v-neck in a dark green, but then I had this and I figured it would be really great for this pattern as well. And then I was debating between doing the crew neck or the v-neck, and I put up a little poll on my Instagram to see. Sometimes I just like to ask for advice on there. They voted for the v-neck, so I just went with the v-neck because honestly I prefer the v-neck. Maybe I will wish I had done the crew neck in the future, but the v-neck has started. I've finished the yoke and I've knit some of the body, and I've started the neckline. What my strategy tends to be, knit the yoke, you do a little bit of the body, do the neckline, and then the sleeves, and revisit the body, and then go back to the body. In my case, I need to see how the neckline fits so that I know how long to make the sleeves and the body. Because for me, I don't tend to knit to what the pattern recommends. I will go based off of how I prefer. Usually I like my sleeves to be super long, and then I go for more full coverage, so I will tend to make the body longer if the silhouette works that way. Sometimes not all silhouettes look good when they're longer. Currently knitting the neck line. It's 2x2 rib. I paid special attention to how my stitches are picked up so it looks really neat, especially in the fronts, because I learned my lesson with my other v-neck that I showed you. This is knit on 6mm needles, and I think it's just nice. It's got like a very loose gauge, which I think is cool. Especially if you've never knit a fingering weight sweater, you know it's just a struggle. So it feels good to be able to knit on a bigger needle. It isn't like that thick of a yarn, but I like the gauge that it gives, very loose and drapey. And of course I like green. If you couldn't tell by my room, green is like my overarching favorite color. I have like seasonal color obsessions. I think this season's probably going to be burgundy or something. I think this green will be nice. I hope it will look good on me. And I started this exactly a month ago. I started it on August 15th and it's currently September 15th. So it's been 1 month. I haven't moved that quickly on it because I have a couple other whips, but also I just have other things, you know, like work and life that I have to do. So I wish I had more time to knit because I would love to have this before the weather gets cold so I can actually wear it this fall. I'm knitting the second size and there are only 3 sizes on this pattern. I actually was shocked when I opened the pattern because I just assumed that patterns just have at least small to extra large or at least. This pattern only has 3 sizes, which pushes a lot of people away, but not me, I guess. I thought I was gonna have to take a long time to figure out what size exactly I wanted because that's just my general practice now to determine what do I want the final garment to look like, what size am I gonna do based on my gauge. But there were only 3 sizes, so I was like, okay, well, that makes it easier maybe. I'm doing the size 2, so we'll see how oversized, if it's gonna be too big. I have knit another of my favorite things knitwear pattern in a size medium, and it's like, I don't know, it's maybe, I don't know, I'll have to revisit to see if it's a great size or not. I tend to wear that sweater a lot though. I'm excited to be done with it because I'm tired of mohair. I'm really tired of it. Maybe because it's just like summertime and it's just so... I don't even think it's just that. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be there anytime soon. That's my first whip. My second whip is something weird a little bit. Well, I don't really know how to describe it. I told you about my box of yarn, and I get anxious when I have things. So well, especially things that are unused. I had a few single skeins of yarn and then a bunch of scraps that one day I just went there and I wound it all up into this super bulky yarn. And I had it sitting for a while. It's been a few weeks. I just decided to start knitting it and make it into a pillow. I was thinking of making like a 20 by 20 inch pillow. Figured out how many stitches I needed to cast on, and I was hoping to have enough yarn, but I've had more than enough yarn. So I'm at a pretty big size now. I think it's gonna end up being like a king size pillow. Once I finish the yarn, then I will decide based on the length, do I want to just fold it in half and have the pillow be whatever size it is and just stuff it with find a pillow that size, or if I, need to make a pillow out of polyfill or something, or if I would like to make it as like a king size pillow and just sew a pillow backing. I will see after I wash and block it just to see how big it is, and then I'll determine what I want to do. I think I'm leaning towards making it just like a big comfy pillow. So it's a mixture of yarns. I had 2 full single skeins of yarn. I wrote them down. One was a Barocco Ultra Alpaca, which is an amazing yarn. I love this yarn. Alpaca yarn is probably my favorite. I just love alpaca so much. The color is called Candy Floss Mix. It's a pretty little like pinkish, like heathered pinkish color. It's really nice. I bought it just like as a one-off. I had purchased some Barocco Ultra Alpaca for a gift knit that I made a sweater for someone. It's super, so that's how I know it's like nice. But I had this single skein of yarn, and then I also had a leftover skein and maybe some scraps from a project. It was Truly Yarns in the color Autumn Spice. I had made a bag with this. And it's cute, but it's kind of a color that I'm not really gravitating towards right now, so I haven't been wearing it, but I did wear it a lot when I made it I think I made it back in 2021. So I've had this yarn for a while. I ended up just like pulling those 2 colors together, and then any scraps that I had in like pinkish purplish color, and I just wound them all together. Like I just went winding crazy. No, there's another yarn in here. There's another yarn. It's Knit Picks palette in Iris Heather, and they kind of all are in the same color family, so I mixed them all together with some scraps. I think there's some scraps from Knitting for Olive, the pink one, and some sock yarn in here. It's pretty dimensional. It's a nice kind of witchy purple color which I love. I love like a little purpley color in the fall. And I'm just doing, what am I doing? I'm just doing garter stitch, which I love, on 10mm needle because it's super bulky. So it feels nice to just use it up. And we'll see how it turns out. Hoping to finish this soon. Like I said, I don't have that much yarn left, so hopefully I will get her done and just have like a comfy soft thing, and just use up some things that I didn't have any other use for. I'm mostly inspired right now to use up what I have in my stash. My stash isn't huge, but it's not small either, so I'm excited to just use up what I have. I don't have any intention of buying any yarn, although I haven't bought yarn in a long time, but for whatever reason I have acquisitions. So I guess I bought a lot of yarn recently. I have some notes on like what I did exactly. Maybe I'll post them on Ravelry when I'm done. It's just like super basic, but I think it's kind of fun and cool. Next whip, this is my last like current whip. I have whips that are hibernating and some whips that are on death row. They might perish. My next whip is a project that I'm working on with my friend. She's doing her version, which she's actually already finished, which is the structure scarf by Petite Knit. I started this on August 31st, so it's been about 2 weeks. I basically knit this in one day, and I haven't touched it since. Partially because I started that scrappy pillow. Partially because I developed like a flare-up in my wrist. I have like sometimes wrist pain from working on the computer, so I was experimenting with acupuncture and the chiropractor. So I'm gonna see how, I have another appointment at the chiropractor, so I'm gonna see, hopefully it'll help me so I can resume knitting without any wrist pain. So I kind of stopped knitting on this. It was hurting me too much. Love this pattern. I love this. I don't see a lot of people knitting the structure scarf. So I actually knit it for my brother almost 2 years ago. I knit it for him as a gift, and when I bought the yarn for him, I also bought the yarn for me. So when I first bought the yarn, I was going to go with a slightly different color combination. I ended up changing it since it's been so long. I have a different color combo. So what I'm doing for this scarf, there's 4 colors. Originally I was going to go with 3, but I ended up picking up another color. Love it or hate it. This is my color scheme. So these are all from Knit Picks. This is the palette yarn held double. So I have like a really bright red, kind of brown, a beige, and then a navy blue. So these were the 3 that I originally was gonna go for, and I had kind of like a chartreusey green that I was gonna add as the 4th color, but after some time looking at it, I decided that it looked too Grinch-like to me, or like kind of Christmassy. So I ended up taking out the green and returning it, and then obviously it was sitting for a long time. My friend and I had the intention of making this pattern together. We finally started it so we could have it for this winter. I thought that would be cool to add a 4th color, so I put up a poll which is the theme. Sometimes when I'm like, I don't know what to do, I'll put up a poll on my Instagram, and I had decided between like 3 colors to choose from. So it was a navy blue, and then I had a light blue and a green, and I ended up picking the color that nobody voted for. I love Petite Knit's version. Her dark blue version, not so much the bright blue version, but the dark blue version. I love that one. So I thought the blue would look cool. Gotten through the ribbing in the first block. Now I need to start the 2-color brioche. I just really like the finished object. My brother looks super fly with his. I didn't add the pom-poms to him, but I do want to add the pom-poms to mine. His is just like a great size and looks really cool. So I'm hoping this will be like really nice in the winter time with like my brown, I have a brown coat. So I think it'll be like, it will match. That's my last whip. Like I said, I have some hibernating whips that maybe I'll talk about, and maybe some whips that are going to perish. But if you're wondering about the structure scarf what colors that I have, it's tomato, almond, navy, and thicket. And those should all be pretty self-explanatory as to what color it is, except for thicket. That's the brown color. So I guess it's time that we can move to my acquisitions. It's so hot in my house. I had to close the windows so that there wasn't any sounds. Turning on the air conditioning in this household is a rare occasion. I'm just here with like a natural dewy complexion, I suppose. I actually don't think I've purchased yarn since 2023, probably in the fall. It's been a while since I purchased any yarn, just because I didn't really knit too much at the beginning of 2024 because I was rereading Twilight and I was busy doing that and watching all of the Twilight movies more than once. I got my knitting bug back, so I guess I wanted to buy more yarn. There is more yarn that I would like to buy, but I'm just gonna work on using up what I have now and then maybe someday next year. I don't intend on buying yarn again. I went to this it was like a secondhand craft store in Virginia, which we kind of just walked in and I didn't think of anything, but there was a yarn section and they had like a cool spinning wheel, which would have been so fun to have. See, right now I have mohair on my mouth. That's what I don't like. They had a yarn section. I just looked at the yarn and I thought this one was so cool. It is called Rowan Tapestry. And yeah, it was $2 a skein. And they only had 2 skeins. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get it. Because I love the ombre. I love ombre. I liked how it looked and I liked the color. This is more so the color scheme that I'm into right now. Kind of more neutrals, but with like a little flare. So the ombre was cool. And I thought this yarn was interesting because it is 70% wool. Here, I'm going to try to show you. 70% wool, 30% soybean protein fiber. What is that? What is soybean fiber? So I was intrigued, so I decided to pick it up. And I was looking at different options of what to make. I'm probably going to settle on a Sophie shawl that I'm going to hopefully make my mom knit. Just maybe a small size, like knit 1 skein until it's used up with the increases. And then once I use this one up, start these creases on this one and just knit whatever size I can. I have seen a bunch of other cool things that were knit in this yarn and I saw one that I really liked. Another scarf version. She had like 5 skeins of the yarn and I only have 2, so I wouldn't be able to make what she made, but I can admire her version. I tried to see if I maybe could find more skeins of this, but it seems to be relatively rare yarn, so I found some skeins on eBay for like $12. I think this is discontinued yarn, so this is like a good little find, I would say. If you have any ideas, if anyone has any ideas of what else I could make besides a scarf, definitely let me know. Scarves I love. Like I have so many other scarves that I plan on making too. That's my first acquisition. I have another acquisition that I got in Virginia, which is this. This is the Blue Sky Fibers super bulky yarn. And it's this, like, I would say this is the perfect cranberry-ish, burgundy-ish fall color. So I just got 1 skein of this because it's $25.50 for 1 skein. This would be amazing to have in like a whole beanie and scarf matching set. But I think right now I'm just gonna go for the beanie and maybe someday I will make a scarf with it. But I just love this color for fall. I love this color for fall. So this is like probably my seasonal favorites, which I think it goes with the trends. I think it's a trending color anyway, but for good reason it's a trending color. So what I'm planning on making with this is a beanie. I think I'm the queen of beanies. Like I love hats year round, so I have a decent collection of beanies so far, and this one will be nice. It is a super bulky weight yarn, so it's quite thick. So I'm gonna have to determine what yarn I want, or what hat I want to use, what hat pattern I want to use. I did want to show it in this podcast before I wound it up and started knitting it. So now after this I might just go ahead and wind it up and start knitting. Maybe I'll finish the pillow first. I think it should be a really quick one to knit. And if I love it so much, I might buy more yarn someday and make a scarf. Next yarn I have to show is the one that I'm most excited about. Just another single skein of yarn that I got from a local alpaca farm. It's so soft. This is an undyed alpaca from a little alpaca farm nearby me that I went to. They have about like 20 something alpacas, so it's fun. You can go and feed them and pet them, and then they have a little shop with different yarns and different other like knitted things, woven things that they have made with the alpacas that they have. I wanted to support them, so I got one skein of yarn, and they actually don't have that big of a stock of yarn right now because they said that they shear their alpacas once a year, I believe. And that was back in May, but they say it takes about a year to get their yarn processed at the mill that they send it to. So they don't have that big of a stock right now, but maybe they will have some more at the end of the year, because I think a sweater's quantity of this and make a cardigan or a sweater, maybe a cardigan actually. It's so soft. So this one is from the alpaca Dottie. And I just love like being able to know the alpaca and then be able to make something with their yarn. I love it so much. This is a sport weight. So what I plan on doing with this is make a beanie. But I think I might have a little bit leftover yarn. The beanie that I think I'm going to do is the classic ribbed beanie by Pearl Soho. I've made that one a couple times and I really like it. So I should have a little leftover of this, and then I want to make to match the cowl, column cowl by Anne Wenzel. I love her patterns. I haven't knit any yet, but I have like a few saved that I want to make. So I think the first one I want to do is the column cowl. I have this and then a few other scraps. I have all of these scraps from different projects. With the leftover this, after I knit the beanie, I should have enough to pair all of these together. Camel color would be the main colorway, and then I would do like these throughout. So I have this one from a leftover sweater. This one is from, I just have used this green for a few different projects. This one's from a leftover hat. This is from leftover penny gloves, and this is from my brother's structure scarf. So I think I just really like this color combination. So I think it'll be cool to have them all and have like a little matching set. And I've not knit so much color work before, so I would like to become more skilled in knitting color work. So I think that will be a good project. It's relatively small and I think it's relatively simple. It looks just like you're knitting every other stitch in the other color, so I think it'll be easy color work to do and not much long strands. So that's my plan for this. It is truly so soft. It is so soft, and yeah, I'm hoping to someday be able to purchase more of this farm's fiber so I can make a whole cardigan. And my dream cardigan would be, it's one by Eggyo Knit. I love it so much. I've been wanting to make it for a while. I don't remember the name, but I'll post the picture. I think it would be so pretty in a camel color. Those are the acquisitions that I want to share. I have another acquisition that I don't want to share because I regret buying it, but I'm gonna share it anyway for documentation. It's this 2 skeins of Das Mundschaft 100% superwash merino wool in the color Drake. So this is a hand dyer in Germany, and I saw this picture of a yarn by this dyer, and I thought it would be so pretty as a, what's the basic, it's like my favorite things knitwear super basic tank top that they have, that one pattern. I'll put it here. I thought this yarn would be really cool as this pattern. And so I went to their website and I purchased the yarn that I thought was the yarn that the girl had photographed. It's a different yarn. So this is kind of like green and black. And it's cool. There's some There's some shades of yellow, like a mustardy yellow color in there too. You can see it here. But I just don't think, this isn't really what I was going for. I also thought that, I'm pretty sure I read correctly that this wasn't superwash merino, but now I see that it is superwash merino, which I'm not a big fan of. So I don't want this yarn. I'm trying to sell it. I've posted it on Facebook to sell because I live in the US and it just doesn't make any sense to send this back to return it. So I'm trying to sell it. If no one wants it, maybe do something with it someday. But I was going more for like a brown, variegated brown color, and this is black. So I'm like, that sucks. So I don't think I'm ever going to buy hand-dyed yarn online ever again, unless I know for sure what the color looks like in person, because it can be disappointing and not worth the money. So hand-dyed yarn is so expensive that I don't intend on doing this again. So if you're interested in this yarn, let me know. I want to sell it and it's good quality yarn, and let me know if you want it. But yeah, I don't think I want to keep this one. I don't think it's something that ever that I want to knit. I did buy this, so that would be part of the acquisitions for my structure scarf. I bought it when it was on sale. So yeah, that's all that I have. I have in the past purchased a lot of yarn. I've definitely slowed down, and maybe it's because I've been buying other things, but also I'm just satisfied with the stash that I have right now and looking forward to continuing to use it up. So I hope that I can do that and continue to share it. So we'll see. Hopefully next time I can share some other cool finished objects and maybe talk more about some altered finished objects that I have a big pile of them. So yeah, bye.